Hello, hi, thanks for talking to me. I actually just got done watching a movie about an hour or so ago. I very, very much
Oh.
liked it. It's very, very tense.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're feeling feeling of intensity.
Yeah, like you're gonna fall off something. So can you first talk about how did the idea come to be? I mean, where did it all start?
Yeah, it came about really from uh, like personal fear of heights, I guess. Myself and the co-writer John O, we were actually on a shoot on top of a football stadium of all places for a film we were shooting in London, and I remember we were just aware of being on this small space at a real height with a sheer drop, and just the kind of fear of that, and how there's something in that more than just a gag or a stunt. You know what I mean? It felt like there was more to be had with this, fear of heights, a horror of heights, fear of falling thing. And so we kind of looked at it, and I guess it like, and I've always loved in movies when there's been height work, really, and I've always tried to inject some of that in my own kind of films in the past, like something, because I do think there is an inner kind of fear in all of us about height, and it's a very universal fear that we have. So it was trying to kind of use that as the core of the whole film, and build a whole film around it, and really like use that to its maximum kind of different tones, the different palette of fun you could have like that. So that was what it started at, and I guess that and the combination of wanting to do something that really kind of used a film theater for what it's supposed to be used for, and really kind of stand out in that environment and immerse you in that environment, and so that kind of fed through it too, that we were very aware we wanted to do an experience more like a theme park ride, is kind of how we briefed it, and we were like, we want this to be like a theme park ride. So that was the brief going in.
Right. Now, obviously, you have a lot of that, tension and worry the whole time, but was it still difficult at all to kind of try to, I mean, it's basically for probably 95% of the film, two people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, was that hard to kind of keep that pacing up, I guess, for the full length?
Yeah, no, it's I think, but I think it is, that's the challenge, and I think I think there's a couple of challenges that you set yourself, which is like, okay, let's have it, two people stuck in this environment, and how the hell do they get out? It's like you kind of write yourself into a corner, and then you kind of really think as if your life depends on it, how you get out of that. And then in doing that, I think it kind of unfolds that actually, yeah, we can do various different things, and the kind of the formation of, or the creation of, kind of working out what happens in the movie. You've got the general central tension, but then each kind of mini goal to kind of get through it and survive, and everything that you kind of think to do is to kind of ratchet that tension and turn that screw a little bit at a time, so that by the end of it you are horribly tense.
So I was gonna say, but before the end of it, you're yelling at the TV screen. A
Yeah.
lot of times, like, why are you doing this?
Why did you do this? It's like, yeah,
yes.
exactly. You're like, please don't climb up there. So
Yeah.
it's yeah, absolutely.
Can you talk sort of a bit about how you did some of the effects? Because obviously they're not up high. I mean, I assume they're on some kind of platform, but
No,
it's all completely. I figured they're at least a couple feet off the ground. It's all completely.
No, they are totally up high, and it's for real. So that's why it looks that way. It's not special effects. So
Oh, really? Wow.
yeah.
I did not know
So that's
that.
really why. Yeah. It's so no, we basically we looked at different ways to make the movie, right? And then and as you rightly say, it's like, in terms of doing studio and all these kind of things. And we looked at the Mandalorian stage, to do a vertical Mandalorian extension. But ultimately, we realized, look, it's either going to be $100 million movie that's going to work all its resource to make it look real in that environment, or we take a much smaller team and we go on this expedition to find a place to film this, so we can actually film it at 2,000 feet. And that became the mission of the movie, and that became kind of the core element of the movie. And it became kind of an engineering journey adventure to find. What we ended up finding was this huge mountain in the middle of the desert that had this big steep cliff drop off. So we were up at the crazy heights of thousands of feet. And then we got the tower guys who actually built the real tower in Arizona to build us sections of the tower, in particular the top, for about 100 foot up at the edge of the cliff. And then we were able to film everything for real. And then the only times when it kind of dips into a split of stuff that isn't there is when you start catching the mountain. And we for that part, we went to the desert and filmed at height and kind of stitched that element in. So it was very much a case of being up there on this little like tower in the wind. Really fed into how we shot it and how we did it, and the girls' performance, obviously, because they're really up there with getting all the elements buffered at them with this big, bright, horrible sunshine kind of beating down on them, and it really played into it, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're scared of heights, how did you film up there?
Yeah. It was, yeah, no, I've slowly tried to conquer my fears, as the message of the movie goes. It's overcome your fears. But no, I think look, part of it is honestly is getting really good people in the stunt work. Like we got the guys, and the sequence that I really admire that I used as a reference, I remember when we looked to do the movie, was that sequence in Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible, the Dubai Tower sequence. We got those stunt riggers, the same riggers kind of did our film. And we kind of got the very best to do safety and to do it all, so that we could put Grace and Ginny in a situation that is real, is dangerous, let's say, but it has those safety backups, so they're okay. And I obviously had similar protocol of like me going up there for the first time. For example, I was wearing the same rigging as all them, and it was the same riggers kind of making sure it was safe, and we did that. And that's but I'll be honest with you, there's also an element of which is like hats off to Ginny and Grace more than anything, is that even if you've got a wire that is connected and you kind of know that you'll be caught if you fell, it really is terrifying climbing up that thing, because it's just like, you know what it's like when you go up a height, it feels a lot higher. So
and it really is, yeah.
And when you're doing this, and I remember looking around when I was doing it for the first time, you're getting beaten by the wind, you're looking there, and there's just this like massive drop, and it's just horrible. And so it was very it was very effective, in that way.
Was there any time though that you had to kind of talk anybody down, like anybody got scared and was like, I can't do this, did that ever happen at all during filming?
Yeah, a couple of times, yeah. And I think but I think a couple of times with a couple of the crew, yeah, for sure, like that they kind of got the jitters and were worried, and rightly so. It was usually because it was so windy and things.
I'm still thinking about it. I'd be scared.
Yeah, there was a lot. Like we had a protocol which was like wind over a certain height. Like, so obviously all this is engineered and calculated, and there's a whole
right
everything. But there was a whole thing with the wind where if it goes past, I think 20 or 30 miles an hour, the actors couldn't be up there. If it goes past 30 or 40, the stunt people can't be up there. If it goes 50, you have to clear off the mountain. If it goes like above 50, you have to hide in this one little brick building.
Oh, wow.
So in case it comes down. And the first day that we were up there filming, we had these winds just crank right up. Like the techno crane got blown off. So we had this whole thing where everyone had to kind of run off, and one of the stages got blown off and blown away. And it was this whole, it reminds you that there is a risk. And it was, look, it was pretty terrifying and different. When it's calm, not so much terrifying, right? You feel a bit normal after a few days of normal, but the elements really beat you up, and yeah, that's the bit that really that's the risk. And but again, it's like they went for it, they did it, they delivered, and did a great job. So I think they went through their own personal cycle of overcoming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there anything, I guess, that you wouldn't expect to be that surprised you, that was difficult, that had nothing to do with those issues?
I tell you what, can I open the chapter of biblical disasters and then read you a few? So yeah, no, everything that happened, like I would say, like I said, the challenge of getting a crew and building a tower and like a massive techno crane, all that nonsense on the tippy top of a mountain, like on a cliff edge, is hard to do, because you have to kind of work out backwards, like the road isn't wide enough for the truck, so you have to kind of dig out more road and all these kind of weird things. But actual disasters that kind of occurred, really, like when we were up there, in one sense it was great because there was a small community of us, just a very small group of us doing this thing, but there's nothing up there, right? So like we have like whatever water we've taken up and the essential things that we've managed to get to the top of the mountain. And what we ended up having is, I remember at the time, the hottest day on record in Death Valley, which was nearby, hit us. We had the winds, we had like hurricane winds, like the sets blowing away. We had several storms and lightning storms. At one point, like like one of the storms, the hot rain kind of melted all the dressing off the towers, and like we're melting the towers. I was like, oh! And then the weirdest one, I think the top of the tree of strange events was when we had, I think it was after the rain or after one of the storms, that we had it obviously disrupted loads of flying ant nests, and so the girls went up the top and to the tower, and because they kind of shook it, I suppose, in the morning, suddenly this swarm of thousands upon thousands of flying ants just surrounded this big cloud of everyone, to the point where we couldn't film, and there was so many. And we're calling kind of pest control and all these kind of things to try and figure out what to do. But we're in the middle of the desert, so it's like a whole day away for any kind of anyone to come in there. And to be honest, in the end, we ended up kind of managing to reverse the blowers, the leaf blowers, to kind of suck more, to kind of get them off there and put them elsewhere. And it was very bizarre. But I guess on the positive, we ended up leaning into the elements. So rather than fighting it, we started out by fighting it, of course, because you're like, I want to do this shot this route, I want to do it this way. But ultimately, we ended up being in a place where we just said, look, let's just go with it. And so if it's windy that day, if there's too much kind of, whatever, let's just film as if it's the environment for the film, because this is what would happen at this height. And if it's clouded over down below and we don't really see it, that's for this scene. Yeah, and it gives it this flavor. And weirdly, just going with nature and falling into nature was actually a big relief and really helped us in the end.
All right. Now I'm going to ask, was this fake? But considering everything else, I didn't think I thought was fake wasn't. Yeah. I assume that you don't I mean, I don't know. Maybe you can train birds that well, but I assume that was like a puppet, or was that was that a real bird?
Puppet for the bird. I was like,
I don't think it was that. Oh, is that actually?
No, this one is definitely fake. No, it was real. Actually, one of the hardest challenge on fall, it's probably the vultures, because I remember James Harris, our producer, a very cynical British guy, kind of going, "Oh mate, you don't want to be working with vultures. It's a nightmare. I've worked with a vulture once back in blah blah blah." And he told me about it, and I was like, "It's gonna be fine, James. It's gonna be fine." And we got these Hollywood trained vultures to come to set, and obviously there's a big entourage, and it's very expensive to have vultures. Probably the most expensive actor in the film is the vulture. And basically they just don't take direction. They just don't listen to you.
Yeah, so, I didn't know if you could. That's why I said I didn't know if you could train vultures.
No, the only thing you can do, honestly, is you can put meat in things for them to eat. So like like you'll have someone's leg, for example, and you'd have to hide a bit of meat under there, and the vulture will eat it. Things like this. But yeah, it was a lot of patience and filming with real vultures, plus a very poor puppetry vulture that Grace could interact with, which was actually just like polystyrene with feathers stuck on it. But actually I'd say very poor. It got beaten up, the poor thing. So it's it was, if you looked at it, it would look very fake, but actually in the way that we used it, I think we got away with it. So real vultures 90% of the time, for sure.
It worked. That's why I said I wasn't sure. I'm clearly not sure what was real.
Don't know what to believe, right?
Do you have a favorite? I mean, I guess it's all about the fear of falling, but do you have like a favorite scene that you can kind of, specify?
There's a few, although I almost don't want to spoil. Like, there's a couple of it in spoiler mode that I don't want to kind of say, but I think for me, like, a couple of things. One is like, I love the ladder fall, because I always wanted to kind of try and get it going up. For me, that was the first kind of going over the edge of the roller coaster, right? And trying to technically like rig a camera to a ladder and then have the actress actually do that and do the stunt for real and drop all the way down. It was like, it was hard to pull off. It was time consuming. It was almost old school in the way we did it all. But I loved that everyone kind of delivered on that, and it was great. And then there's the other element, I would say, just as a human story, honestly, like the human part of fall is from a very kind of personal, honest place. And I think the girls did such a great job in the performances and the range of performances and delivering that. And I felt like with the film, really wanting it to be this journey of healing in going through grief and whatnot. And that I think it's, the way I hope it works is you kind of strap yourself into this crazy kind of Six Flags roller coaster, but at the end of it, the relief is not just the physical relief, it's the emotional relief of being through that process. Because I think we've had such a hard couple of years, and we've all been through different elements of that, and I think it's a very kind of healing and overcoming that is at the heart of the film. And I think that's probably the proudest thing that I would like people to take away from is that kind of piece of it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. I appreciate, like I said, I really enjoyed it. It was very tense.
Thank you.
And also, I like Final Shot a lot too. I was looking through your credits. I'm like, I just watched that like a week ago.
Oh yeah, it was on Netflix recently, wasn't it?
Yeah, I just saw it, so liked it.
That was the rooftop, just so you know. That was.
I figured when you were talking about that. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and
thank you. Appreciate it. It's been lovely. Thanks very much.
Evening. I don't know what time you're the same time as me, but evening here.
I'm on LA time, so I'm not sure.
Okay. You're not too far off then. All right. Well, have a good day.
All right, lovely. You too. Take care. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye.